at my beautiful Monstera. It's getting a little too big for its own britches. So in this video, I want to do a quick little video on how to stake up our Monsteras, because this is a plant, you see I have it in a relatively small container. They like to be in confined containers, but what happens is that they eventually start to grow very, very tall stems with really super heavy foliage, and it's kind of inevitable that they're eventually going to start to flop over. So many times you will see them staked. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to stake these up so that yours can be upright. Now, if I was in my permanent home and I didn't mind this kind of look, I might just leave it. But because I'm about to travel and I need to have this a little bit more compact, and I kind of just really like the look of being upright and having other plants in front of it, I'm going to stake it up. So, okay. First thing, I always like to start with 3 stakes because it kind of, you know, the golden triangle in your container is what we're going to be creating. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to just kind of hold it up and see kind of exactly where you want to put your stakes. Now, you can see this piece of foliage, or this stem, 2 stems actually, is super heavy, and I really need to make sure that I'm going to stake this one up. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to take one of my stakes. Now I'm using just bamboo stakes. You can buy these super cheap. You can buy them in a big round, you know, like 20, 50, 100 of them for super cheap at your garden centers or your box stores, wherever. And then also what I like to use is I like to use garden twine. Some people, when they're staking, they'll use twist ties, but I find that I like to use the twine because it leaves a little bit more flexibility. It allows the plant to continue to grow, because one thing we want to make sure when we're staking up our plants, no matter what they are, tomatoes, monsteras, however, you want to make sure that you leave them relatively loose so that you're not constricting the growth. You're not kind of like scaring the plant from continuing to grow. If it's too tight, if you use twist ties and you do it too tight, they may just kind of stop growing. Anyways, okay. So I have my stakes, and you see my stakes, when I put it down to the ground, it's a pretty good height. This is about as high as I want. If I want, you know, I could also use a little bit shorter or a little bit taller. It's really gardener's choice, but it's better to start with a taller one, and then if you need to cut down the stake after, if it looks too tall, you can easily just cut it down. So stake 1, I'm going to put it, and I'm going to nestle it right near, so you see this stem right here, I'm going to nestle this first stake right in close. And this is going to be a really foundational stake for this plant. So I put it in, and you want to stick it down all the way into the very base till you touch the bottom of the pot. Now you can see these 2 stems, 1 stem, 2 stem, I put it right in between. So now they're going to kind of lean into it. Honestly, I could even just like leave it like that and it'd be pretty darn good. But I also have this heavy stem over here. It's also another dual stem with 2 pretty large leaves. You can see I still don't have any fenestrations. I don't have any of the Swiss cheese look yet, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they'll come soon. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is this one. And take my other stake. Actually, this one's a little bit taller, so I'm going to use this stake. And let's see if I can see what I'm doing. And you see, like before, I'm going to put this in right up next to the base of that stem. Now, okay, you can feel and you can hear that I'm kind of like crunching the roots a little bit. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. Monstera, for one, is a very strong, robust plant. It's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. I know it kind of makes you sad, but I'm telling you, it's better to stake it up than not stake it up and you know, and have more floppy growth that makes you unhappy. Okay. You know, I don't like that, actually. It's too close inwards. I'm gonna actually put it a little bit further out. Oh, come on, baby. All right, looks pretty good. So you see, that one is a little bit, it's still a little bit flopped out, but that's okay, because I'm gonna use the twine and I'm gonna hold it up. Now my third one, to create that triangle, I'm just gonna put it back into the back of the pot to the other side. And now I'm gonna have a nice triangle of stakes in my container. Okay, feels good. All right, so you can see 1, 2, 3. It's still looking floppy, so now what am I gonna do? I'm gonna take my twine. Now I'm just gonna unspool a big section, garden twine, just like hemp stuff. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start, but take your twine and wrap it around one of the stakes. Make a nice knot so it's nice and secure. Any kind of knot will be fine. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap the twine around, and we're gonna actually wrap it around each stake. And while we're doing so, we're gonna kind of prop up the foliage a bit, okay? So when you get to the stake, you wrap it actually all the way around. You do a 360 degrees around the stake. And you can see, you see what I did? Okay. Let's see if I can show you a little bit better. You actually take it and wrap it all the way around the stake. And what that does is basically just it holds the twine in place in that section. Okay. I'm gonna keep going up. And you kind of just go at an angle. Try to get as much of the foliage sticking up as held up as possible. Now when you're doing that little wrap trick I just showed you, don't wrap the foliage, just wrap the stake. Okay. Now it's also gardener's choice. If you want to stake up, you know, do I want to stake this one up like this and get it in closer? Or do I want to just let it be? For that one, I'm gonna let it be. I think it looks nice there. Okay, so maybe we can see a little bit better this time. So I'm coming to the stake. Now I get to the stake and I hold the twine in place and I wrap it around. Okay. And then you just make your way all the way up as high as you want. So with this, I think I am gonna stake this one up a little bit higher because it's so heavy and I wanna make sure it's safe. And this one's really heavy too. So I'm gonna make sure and get that one up too. I have way too much twine. It's kind of annoying me, but it's okay. So you just slowly make your way up along the bamboo, making sure to do that wraparound twist. If you just kind of go around the outside of the bamboo, it's not going to be held in place. That's why we do that wraparound twist. If you just kind of went around the outside, the twine is just going to fall down. So by doing that 360 degree wrap around each bamboo, it's way better. Now, if you do wrap the twine around the pieces of foliage, just remember to do it gently because, like I was saying, you don't want to wrap the foliage too tightly. It's not going to be, it's not going to promote the best growth possible. And I think that looks about good. So now I get to the top where I want and I tie another knot. with the twine. Have this extra twine, and I'm going to chop it off. Well, what do you think? Now it's a lot more upright. It's going to, you know, fit into a corner a little bit nicer. I can put some other plants in front of it, make a nice little scene. I think it looks pretty darn good. You know, as monsteras grow, they really are considered a shrub. They can take up a lot of room, which is what we love about them, and they're super easy to grow. You can grow them in really nice full sunny conditions, part sunny conditions, or even shady conditions, especially if you live where it stays really nice and warm year round. They can handle almost like 3/4 of a day of sun, or of shade rather. And you can see, you know, my plant is starting to get some aerial roots here. And so another thing that happened when I was staking it up, I'm kind of, you know, keeping them down, and hopefully they're gonna reestablish themselves into this original soil. And what that is gonna do is just gonna encourage even more growth. So now I have this nice, beautiful monstera. And if I wanted to, I'm not going to right now, but if I wanted to, I could cut these stakes down a little bit more, and then they would be even more discreet, because discretion is always key when it comes to using stakes and things like that. But I think for now it looks pretty good. All right, I'm Devin Walleen. You can catch me on Instagram at plant.vibrations, or my YouTube channel, Plant Vibrations with Devin. I'll catch you later.